Starting with something intriguing, Kamala Harris's recent public statement responding to someone declaring Jesus is Lord at one of her rallies has sparked intense debate. When the individual made this proclamation, Harris quickly replied, "Oh, you're at the wrong rally." For many, this reaction raises significant questions about her stance toward religious voters, especially in light of the political weight that the Catholic vote carries in the US today. What does this response reveal about her campaign's connection with faith communities? And could this response ultimately impact her chances in crucial swing states? To address the first question, Harris's remark has left many Catholics, especially those who consider faith a central part of their identity, questioning if her campaign fully understands or respects religious sentiment in America. If you enjoy content that helps you grow spiritually, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join our community for more inspiration. Let's get started. At 21.8% of the US population, Catholics form the largest religious group in the country. Many Catholics, concentrated in critical swing states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Arizona, could sway the Electoral College results if they perceive a candidate as dismissive of their beliefs. By remarking that those who proclaim Jesus is Lord might be at the wrong rally, Harris potentially alienates a significant segment of voters who may already feel disconnected from her platform, especially regarding issues like reproductive rights, which her rallies emphasize. As for the second question, the consequences of Harris's comments may be profound, politically. Some interpret her statement as a signal that people who express certain religious beliefs may not find support within her campaign. This could lead to some voters feeling more aligned with candidates who appear to honor their faith openly. The broader perception, fueled by other controversies, suggests that Harris's team may lack sensitivity toward Catholicism, especially concerning issues that resonate strongly with Catholic teachings. Her recent decision to skip the Al Smith dinner, a significant Catholic event traditionally attended by presidential candidates, has further amplified the impression of disengagement from the Catholic community. Ultimately, this controversy highlights a potential disconnect between Harris's campaign and a critical group of voters. Whether intentional or not, her response to the Jesus is Lord proclamation, along with her non-attendance at notable Catholic gatherings, could shape the decisions of millions who prioritize faith when voting. In the current political landscape, where every word is scrutinized and every action matters, this incident raises questions not only about her approach to faith-based communities, but also about the role that religious beliefs play in the political identity of her supporters. Her campaign has consistently emphasized a specific agenda, focusing heavily on reproductive rights, a stance she promotes as essential for women's empowerment. This viewpoint, however, has sparked considerable controversy, particularly within communities for whom faith and traditional values hold significant importance. By aligning her platform with the idea that access to certain rights is paramount, even to the extent of redefining long-standing moral frameworks, Harris has set a precedent that challenges conventional beliefs, leaving many to question how this approach affects societal values at large. As Harris drives forward a vision of individual rights that reshapes deeply rooted moral norms, a question arises. What does this mean for the future of a society built on traditional values? The tension is palpable, especially among those who feel that balancing rights with communal values is essential to a nation's well-being. And in times like these, having clear guidance and reliable answers can be life-changing. This is exactly what The Secret of Jesus' Apparitions offers, a path to clarity and peace through his revelations. This ebook goes into his prophecies and offers insight into what lies ahead. It's available for free in the pinned comment. Grab it now before the edition's gone. This campaign tactic has not only stirred debate, but has also highlighted the division between her supporters and a broader audience. For instance, many argue that Harris's view of empowerment, which prioritizes career progression and lifestyle freedom, stands in contrast to perspectives that value family structure and moral responsibility. This ideological split is evident in her messaging, which some believe encourages a more secular and progressive lifestyle, particularly among women. The approach has led some critics to describe her stance as isolating those with strong religious ties, especially Catholics, who may feel that their core values are being overshadowed by political agendas that favor individual choice above all else. Harris's team, aware of the cultural rift, has tried to bridge this gap through humor and satirical skits, including references to Catholic symbols in recent videos. Yet these efforts have often backfired, with some viewers perceiving them as tone-deaf or dismissive rather than relatable. The attempt to use humor to connect with voters of different backgrounds appears to have missed the mark, especially when these skits include caricatures that touch upon sensitive religious elements such as the Eucharist. For many, this approach has underscored a lack of sensitivity or understanding of the importance that religious symbols hold for millions of Americans. The recent snubbing of the Al Smith Dinner, a traditional Catholic fundraiser attended by presidential candidates, has added to these tensions. By choosing not to attend, Harris indirectly reinforced perceptions that her campaign does not prioritize faith-based communities, further alienating Catholic voters. This decision, combined with a campaign strategy that appears to marginalize religious perspectives, has drawn the attention of commentators who question the campaign's long-term impact on voter trust. As this narrative unfolds, Harris's commitment to her agenda continues to be both a driving force and a point of contention, raising questions about the role of religious respect within political discourse. Harris's interactions in the public eye have often showcased her stance on contentious social issues, and her recent comments have added fuel to a growing divide. At one of her recent campaign events, Harris took a subtle but unmistakable jab at Donald Trump, an act met with approval by her supporters, but one that others saw as opportunistic and out of place. Drawing a comparison to a scenario like criticizing Detroit while standing in Detroit, her statement felt both pointed and polarizing, signaling a departure from restraint in her campaign style. Her recent video, intended to engage Catholics and the wider religious community, has also come under fire for perceived insensitivity. In the skit, a character mentions that the dinner being hosted is the most important since the Last Supper. The comment, intended humorously, was viewed by many as a mockery of Catholicism's central beliefs. As some critics pointed out, if similar remarks were made about another religious group, the backlash would likely have been more severe. As our world redefines its principles, finding steady guidance can make all the difference. Download your free ebook for insight and clarity while copies last. This disparity in treatment highlights the delicate balance required when navigating faith in public discourse, something that Harris's team appears to have misjudged in this instance. The video also carried an air of what some might call celebrity satire. By participating in the skit alongside an actor portraying a figure reminiscent of characters from classic television, Harris's attempt to bridge the gap between political engagement and popular culture came off as forced and insincere. The visual comparison to an old TV character speaking on serious topics was jarring for viewers who found the approach more alienating than engaging. Harris's team may have intended to use humor as a unifying tool, but the portrayal ended up reinforcing a stereotype of disconnection from the communities her campaign wishes to reach. This approach reflects a broader trend in modern politics, where humor and satire are used as mechanisms for engagement. However, the line between relatable and offensive can be thin, especially when religious beliefs are involved. For many voters, faith represents a powerful personal conviction that transcends political ideologies. Harris's team, by framing Catholicism in a humorous light without clear sensitivity, risks further alienating this key demographic. The fallout from this decision may challenge Harris's campaign to either rethink its strategies or double down on its current approach, knowing well the stakes involved in an election year where every demographic counts. A complex theme underlying Harris's campaign is her embrace of modern ideals surrounding individual choice and bodily autonomy, particularly as it pertains to medical advancements and reproductive rights. This narrative appeals strongly to those who view autonomy over one's body as paramount. However, for others, particularly those with traditional beliefs, these advancements often conflict with rooted principles. They see modern interventions, like hormone treatments and elective procedures, as misalignments with the natural order. This divergence between Harris's platform and traditional perspectives becomes evident in the debate over birth control and gender transitions. Harris advocates for the accessibility of medical options that, while framed as empowering, are perceived by many as altering natural processes that have spiritual significance. For instance, while her supporters may argue that birth control empowers women by giving them control over their reproductive choices, critics counter that it disrupts a natural rhythm, replacing it with synthetic regulation that distances people from what they consider a divinely ordained biological order. Another example of Harris's stance is her support for medical procedures designed to transition gender. This approach, while progressive in its bid for inclusivity, clashes with viewpoints that see gender as an immutable aspect of identity. Those who oppose such practices argue that encouraging individuals to alter their gender biologically involves a level of interference that goes against both natural and spiritual principles. In their view, these procedures stray from respecting the inherent design they believe is part of a larger plan, pushing society further away from values they hold sacred. Moreover, Harris's alignment with policies that support these practices has raised concerns about the impact on family structures. In particular, the promotion of elective medical interventions has fueled a broader discussion on societal priorities, with critics arguing that such focus diverts attention from the values of familial commitment and nurturing. Her detractors contend that policies like these, by redefining societal norms, could lead to unintended consequences for future generations, who may grow up detached from values that traditionally promoted long-term stability and a sense of purpose rooted in heritage. When familiar beliefs feel challenged, a clear perspective is invaluable. This ebook offers that guidance. Download your free copy in the pinned comment before it's gone. For many, these issues embody a wider cultural shift, one that separates personal choice from collective responsibility. Her advocacy for policies that many view as counter to traditional principles reveals the widening gap between a progressive vision of individual empowerment and a conservative call to uphold what is seen as a harmonious, divinely guided order. The clash between these perspectives not only highlights the cultural divide, but also underscores the challenges faced by a society wrestling with the balance between progress and tradition. Amidst ongoing debates over personal freedoms and societal norms, Harris's policies have further amplified the conversation around individual choice and its moral implications. For her supporters, these freedoms symbolize progress and self-determination. However, many argue that these ideals often conflict with fundamental values rooted in faith and family. For example, the acceptance of practices such as IVF and other assisted reproductive technologies has introduced new ethical dilemmas. While these advancements provide options for couples struggling with infertility, opponents view them as interventions that compromise natural order. This tension gets worse as Harris's views on non-traditional family arrangements, which value freedom over custom, become more popular. Advocates for traditional family values see these policies as undermining the foundational structures that foster stability for children. From their perspective, stable family units, comprised of a mother and father, create the environment children need to thrive, offering them moral guidance, emotional support, and a stable home. In contrast, Harris's policies, which champion a more progressive view of family and reproductive rights, challenge this model by introducing alternative family concepts, sparking concerns about the potential long-term impacts on society. Further complicating the debate, Harris's position on gender identity and bodily autonomy highlights a shift in public policy that critics argue moves away from recognizing biological distinctions. By promoting policies that endorse gender fluidity, her platform aligns with a view that personal identity is a choice rather than a fixed characteristic. Supporters see this as a step toward inclusivity and personal freedom, while detractors perceive it as a denial of inherent truths that shape human identity. For those who believe that gender is an immutable aspect of God's design, the emphasis on choice over biology feels like a rejection of natural law. The complexity of these issues creates a clear divide between progressive ideologies and traditional beliefs. Harris's stance, viewed by some as a path toward inclusivity, is seen by others as fostering a societal environment disconnected from spiritual principles. For her critics, these policies symbolize a departure from the values that have historically supported community cohesion and personal responsibility. Thus, the debate surrounding Harris's approach highlights a fundamental question about the direction society is taking: whether to prioritize personal autonomy or uphold a structure based on long-standing beliefs. Harris's policies reveal an approach to leadership rooted in modern democratic systems, but one that often contrasts with traditional American ideals of governance and community-focused values. Critics argue that her focus on high-cost campaigns funded by corporate entities underscores a dependence on large donors, potentially shifting political priorities to align with corporate interests. This dynamic raises concerns that the original intent of a government by the people is fading, replaced by one swayed by powerful interests with significant influence over national policy. For those navigating these challenging shifts in values, this may be the perfect time to seek understanding. Copies of this free ebook are running out. Find yours in the pinned comment. This dependence on funding brings into focus the shift in political messaging, particularly around societal values. Harris's campaign strategy, fueled by a billion-dollar network, often involves messages crafted to appeal to younger, more progressive audiences, including endorsements for gender inclusivity, reproductive rights, and other socially progressive ideals. These messages, however, often clash with the perspectives of those who view such advancements as straying from moral principles that prioritize family, faith, and communal stability. As these modern values gain traction, those with conservative or traditional beliefs feel increasingly marginalized, watching as long-held principles are reshaped under new ideologies. In addition to her campaign's financial backers, the influence of modern media shapes public perception significantly. The integration of high-profile endorsements, celebrity support, and massive advertising budgets amplifies Harris's reach, but it also raises questions about authenticity. For many voters, especially those who value integrity and transparency, the prevalence of heavily produced narratives seems artificial, distancing Harris from the ordinary concerns of everyday citizens. This highly curated messaging contrasts starkly with a desire for simplicity and honesty, leaving a gap between the polished political image and the expectations of a leadership that genuinely represents its people. Amidst this landscape, an alternative vision emerges, one that reconsiders the role of material wealth in governance and instead emphasizes principles rooted in community welfare and religious tradition. Many of Harris's critics propose a return to values that prioritize education, family, and religious teachings, values that they argue foster a more resilient society. If this message makes you think, and you feel it connects with you, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Also, if you really want to support our work and help us keep creating valuable content, consider giving us a super thanks. Join this amazing community and don't miss any news. From their perspective, the focus on economic support for veterans, affordable housing, and access to faith-based education represents a blueprint for restoring the nation's moral foundation, encouraging a future less influenced by corporate interests and more centered on collective well-being. This vision underscores a contrasting approach to governance, highlighting the divide between a system driven by progressive values and one that calls for a restoration of traditional virtues.